Welcome to Sharing My Truth with Mel and Susie, the uncensored version, where we bear it all.
We do.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Sharing My Truth with Mel and Susie. Hello, babes. How are ya?
Hello, darling. I'm great. I'm good.
You look fabulous.
Well, so do you, darling.
Thanks, babes. I'm wearing my little Mel scarf today.
You are, and I noticed that. It looks quite fabulous.
I feel like sexy Parisian flight attendant.
Yeah, it's a certain je ne sais quoi.
It does, a little silk scarf.
A little va-va-voom.
Hello, Français. I am Mel. I speak 5 languages. That's you. By the way.
Okay,
That was,
yeah. No, I got that.
In case. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Make sure that you rate and review this podcast. If you have a second, it really helps us out, helps people find us, helps us in this community of love and peace and sex. And then follow us on Instagram at Sharing My Truth Pod and find us on TikTok as well, because Mel is the TikTok queen. And she kills it. And if you see our videos on TikTok, almost every single video that's on there, Mel edits, and it's incredible, and it's so funny. And she'll comment back if you want to talk. If you want to chat with Mel,
I will.
Yeah, you just have to comment on our TikTok.
And our recent Instagram post.
Yeah, we got our first 10K. Or 12.
Almost 13K.
Incredible.
Lots of comments, and I love the comments.
Oh my God, we love the comments.
Keep going
so
with the comments.
Yeah,
They're great.
It's so funny. It's going to be, first of many.
Absolutely.
The fact that more people are finding our community, it's
great. And it's fabulous.
It's empowering.
Lots more people downloading. It's brilliant.
Yeah, well, thank you guys so much, and keep sharing this pod. We love it. But yeah, so we are going to get right into it today because it's a pretty big topic.
It is.
And it might be a little controversial.
A smidge, yes.
A smidge of the controversy. Because today we're going to talk about 50-50 relationships.
Yes.
And what we mean by that is mostly, 50, like women doing 50%, men doing 50% in the relationship.
Yeah.
So, whatever that means to you, whether it's paying for 50% of the bills, taking care of 50% of the childcare, or the home cleaning, or whatever it is, everything is 50-50. And we're here to talk about why that most likely does not work.
Yes.
Right?
We are. Yes.
It's pretty hefty because, we're in this place that, if you get married, we're dealing with a bunch of issues. And if we don't get married, we're dealing with a bunch of other issues. And like as women, right? Like you're having to work, you're having to have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
If we're just going to go from society standards,
Mm-hmm.
work, have a baby, get married, maybe not in those orders, but, and then hopefully you don't get divorced.
Yeah.
And you're still taking care of your however many kids.
Yes.
You want to get a pet. You have to take care of your parents.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot. And a lot of these caretaker things still falls on the woman's side.
100%. Yeah.
So how did we get here? Right? Like how did we get here in the way of like modern feminism where we do feel empowered, obviously. And there's so much that has helped. Like misogyny is still here, obviously.
Yeah. Sadly,
but it's gotten a lot better. And I know from when you were a teenager or in your 20s, obviously,
Yeah, 100%.
It's been a very large change.
Oh, yeah. It's a massive change. In any workplace. So I think, I left university, my first job, proper job in an office, if that's a proper job. But you know what I mean? Like paying the rent kind of job. And I would have been about 23 and I was in sales jobs and I was always working with a lot of men and it was so misogynistic. And not even misogynistic. They were sort of being overbearingly masculine. They made horrible comments and that was just a regular thing. And I know lots of my friends experienced that. But I'd say my generation, Generation X, is really the first generation. My mother actually worked and so did my grandmother. on my mum's side. So I had that in my family, but my mum then stopped working when she had me, which was quite common. But my generation, Generation X, probably the first generation, because of the feminist movement in the 70s, that we were going to look after ourselves. We weren't sort of looking to get married. That wasn't number one aim, to get married. And I, even growing up, my father always said to me, it was my father, not my mother, saying to me, if you want things in life, if you want a house, a car, whatever, you go out there and get it. You get a great job, you get it. Don't marry a man. Don't let a man decide that for you. And I think our generation was the first that really experienced not being trapped, if you know what I mean. Because I think, we can criticize, but women before that, they didn't have a choice. I mean, they got married for money, for finances. I mean, hopefully they loved the guy and he wasn't that awful, but they were trapped then. Society didn't let them get divorced. And what were they supposed to do? My mother's mother got married at 19 because she got pregnant, and she detested my grandfather, and I think, spent her whole life being miserable. And that was, a lot of people were in that, right? But then the feminist movement, as far as I see it, was supposed to be able to allow women to have the choice, to work, to not work, to work part-time. When you have children, to work, to not work, to go back to whatever the combination of whatever those things is, was to allow you to have the choice and to not have to do what a man told you, what society did. You could make those decisions. And of course, that is sort of where we kind of got to, but it's kind of, now it's so incredibly difficult for young women because, well, women still, if you have children, women still have babies. So you have to take time off. I mean, I took minimal time off with my 2 kids, but still physically you have to. Somebody's got to look after the baby. Somebody's got to physically go through it.
Someone's got to feed them from their teat.
the whole thing. And, to sort of have to go back to work very quickly, which a lot of women have to do within 6 months to a year. And then you don't know how you're going to feel. You think, no, I want this, I want my job, and I want my child, I want to have everything. And then you have the baby and you're like, maybe I'd like a little bit of time out, which is perfectly, that would be great in an ideal world. But then even if you have a partner who can support you financially, it's so bloody expensive to breathe, let alone buy a house.
Yeah.
That it's almost impossible for any family, unless one of the members, the man or the woman or whatever the couple, whoever's in the couple, if you like, is an extremely high earner, a mega earner, which is, 0.001% of the population, then what are you supposed to do?
Yeah. I mean, we're still supposed to, like, as society wants us to, or when they want us to work like men, pretty much.
Yes.
And that sounds extremely anti-feminist in the way of like, well, we should have this what we call equality, but it should be equity in the way of like, we need different things. We are different people with different needs.
100%.
Like our 2 genders, and whoever has a vagina, has a penis, whoever you are, you're going to need different things in your
100%.
life. And whether that's if you choose to have a child and make that ginormous decision, and you might be even alone and you want to have a child.
Exactly.
You don't need a penis anymore, which is incredible.
No.
But you should make that decision for yourself. And, people should be able to, like our society should accept that, and they should try to take care of these people that, want to make their own decisions and not, like, I feel like we're being punished for living how society has wanted us to live.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a way, young women are, because I would say on the flip side, there's probably never been a fairer time, if you like, to be a woman in terms of you can get the job. I mean, you look at the statistics of higher education, and young women in education and do much better than young men and so on.
Yeah.
But it's just incredibly, I think the reason it's difficult for women is because you're supposed to be now, apparently, either Kim Kardashian or running some global online super fashion empire. Exactly. Wearing like, $3,000 suits. Or you're meant to be a celebrity, whatever. Like, you're meant to be some super, super duper human being. And you're supposed to look amazing at all times of day. And you're supposed to be an amazing lover and amazing in the sack. And then if you have children, you're meant to be an amazing mother. Like, you're meant to be all of these things, which is like, I don't even know how that works.
It's hard because like the women and we're probably going to get a lot of hate for
Yeah,
saying this.
probably.
But it's probably. But the women, we are the problem.
Oh
right?
yeah,
It's
we're
like
our own worst enemy.
yeah, because we like to pretend that it's all women empowerment. And we've said this before, but women are the hardest, most judgmental
100%.
on to other women.
Yeah,
ever.
it's hideous, and I think it confuses men. I mean, I think it really confuses men. They don't understand. They're like, I thought you guys were all meant to like stick together, and you know what it's like if women are like, oh, if your friend has just bought some beautiful new house or has some amazing clothes, everyone's like, yeah, I'm so happy for you, and then behind your back they're like, it's so bitchy, and I think it's
like, well, your husband probably bought that for you.
Yeah, and it's very. There's a lot. Women are innately jealous.
Yes,
most men don't really give a shit what house they live in, what the couch looks like. It's all the often in relationships to the woman who's like, no, I have to have. It's got to look better, and I'm worried about what other people think.
It's because like we're secretly very competitive.
And I also think. I mean, I personally, the most criticism I've ever received is from women.
100%.
And when I worked through both my pregnancies and with my children, I've always worked. And the amount of criticism, and my husband's always had a very good job. So the amount of criticism I've had from other women saying, well, why do you work? So you'd have the women saying, why do you work? You don't need to work. Then the women who you've gone back to work. I mean, it just sort of came from all sides. And you're like, hang on a second. How about fuck off and mind your own business?
Fuck off.
I'm doing what I'm doing. It works for me and my family, and it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
But and it's horrible. It really is. And you think, oh my God, you are the same woman who would say you're a feminist and you're doing this, you're criticizing me because I have had friends who've criticized me when my 2 children were very young because I was working. I had my own business. I still have my own business, but I had a nanny to help me when I was working. And I had friends who were feminists who would criticize me for having a nanny. And you're like, hang on a second. So you're going to criticize me for having somebody to help me so that I can work. Okay, this is really, really messed up. And then those same women then had their children.
Yeah.
And of course had to have childcare or something.
Of course.
Because then how do you work if you don't have any help? If you're very, very lucky and you've got a mother or some kind of, relative that'll help you, lucky you. But most people don't have that.
No, especially who live in the same place because we're all living in different places now. Like that's just the way things go.
Yeah. And I think there's a huge amount of expectation on women. I mean, I'm 50 and I went to a super feminist private girls' school in England. Not for my whole...
very posh.
Very posh. Not for whole of my education, but sort of the bulk of it. And it was very feminist. It was like, you're girls and you can do anything a man can do. And it was like drummed into you every single day. And you can succeed and you can be a doctor, a lawyer, a banker, a businesswoman, whatever. And it was drummed into you. And
it's not true.
No, it's not true. And it it's very empowering. That was great. And all of us went off and got degrees and, everyone worked and blah, blah, blah. But they sort of failed to mention what happens when you have a child. They sort of missed that bit out. And I know that that's very difficult. How are they going to talk about that when you're 18? But it's kind of key because most of us, that was a big issue, right?
Yeah.
That you'd worked your ass off. Friends of mine who are lawyers who worked their ass off, got these big jobs in corporate careers and then had a child, and then it's like, how do I do this? This is really hard because we still are not, you can say, oh, the man could do it, but we're still not there. And you do physically have the child comes out of you. There's a bond between the mother and I have lots of friends with all different combinations of ways that they've looked after the children, and it's worked very well for them, and it really is up to the couple, but it's still stacked against you.
Well, I think it's also just so funny. Like when you look at Instagram and you look at all these hot mummies on Instagram and things like that, they do not, most of them anyways, obviously, do not show that they have nannies around.
Of course not.
But of course they
not.
do, and there's just these women that are like, not maybe purposefully, but they are gatekeeping these into like these ideologies of like,
that's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah, they're just like, they're holding on. They're like, oh, we're obviously getting so much help and taken care of and, looking super great on Instagram. But obviously behind the scenes,
There's an army of people.
Of course.
Which is fine. I mean, if you can afford that, good for you. And
exactly.
if it works
There's no
and
shame
whatever.
in either way.
But don't portray something. And there are a couple of celebrities who shall remain nameless, who do that. And they sort of, I'm a great mother. And they're sort of walking around with their baby carrier with their 100 children following them. But then you never see actually the nannies behind kid number 6.
Well, also, like, what other, I mean, like, are they making their own food? Probably not. Like,
no, probably not.
No,
They're not
like,
doing the washing. They're not,
like, that's just, there's so many things to being an everyday woman. Like you said, you have to look great. Where does all that money come to buy the makeup, to buy the hair stuff, to make you look great, to, be an everyday person in society?
And the time.
Well, yeah, and the time. And like, if you go to work one day and you don't put makeup on, someone's going to say you look tired.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to ruin your goddamn fucking day.
Yeah.
And any woman listening is going to know exactly what I'm talking about.
100%.
Because if you don't wear makeup, like if you have an actual office job or whatever, and you have to look professional every day, you're speaking with clients, it's like proven fact that prettier or more well put together women are more
100%.
successful.
But look at all the sort of the music stars that, like, a lot of young women, I'd say, Gen Z's, my kids, sort of look up to, the sort of Beyoncés and all these Adeles or whatever. Maybe not so much Adele, but like Beyonce and trying to think of Cardi B or whoever it is. And they're all like mega put together, and also very, very feminine. And, God, how long does it take to look like that? I mean, they've obviously got the raw material to start with, but the rest of us aren't able to do that because we don't have. I mean, I've told you what it's like when you bump into celebrities, which I have done bizarrely in a lot of airports, and it's so disappointing. Because you're always like, is that it?
Yeah.
I remember seeing like various people, Jude Law, I've sort of sent Gwyneth Paltrow. Heathrow Airport is like a mecca for all these people. You always see them. And it's like, oh, right. It's like, I could be you. Well, not quite, but you know what I mean?
You could, though.
They're not that exciting.
Absolutely.
So then you realise how many people are behind, and particularly women. And you know what it's like. You go to the hairdresser, you know how long all this stuff takes.
Yeah.
It takes forever. So to do that and to be like in a relationship and to have a job, which, no job is 9 to 5. If you're progressing in your career, it's more like 7 to 9.
If you want to raise, you have to work the extra hours.
Children, a house. And then that leads on to the other thing that still so much unpaid work in the house, women do it. Mostly because we don't want to leave it to men because they're useless at it. I mean, that would be my case.
Right. Well, if you want something done, you do it yourself. And I think a lot of women
100%.
feel that way. Yeah.
I mean, I'm lucky my husband cooks and I can't, as you know, cook to save my life. However, everything else, my husband cannot put a wet towel after 25 years over the like little rail, He just can't get it. He puts it and it's all scrunched up.
Oh, God, I hate that.
I just, what is the point in having the conversation for the millionth time? I just put the towel back every time. There is no
You gotta
point.
pick your battles.
There's
you
no
gotta pick your
point.
battles. Yeah.
If I want breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I'm going to put the towel. No, joke. Well, it is actually the truth. But yes, but yeah. But I think, we don't realize it's, and also there's the issue of a lot of stuff that women don't say, do they? Like we're talking about the fact that there's sort of all the bitchiness and that we're really sort of quite jealous of each other, but there's also a lot of unsaid stuff.
Well, it's like when you see these women, whether in person or online, and you want to judge them because maybe they have a rich husband and they don't work and they have a bunch of kids and they're just living their life. They're trying to live their best life. And obviously maybe you don't know these women and you're judging just based on looking at them. But you're obviously like, fuck that. Like, I can't believe this woman went there. Like, I she should have a job. Why are you making your money? You're putting us back a bunch of years. But it's like, maybe you're just jealous.
Yeah. Maybe secretly you're like, that would be quite nice.
It's either way is fine. You want to work, you want to make your own way in life.
Of course.
Fucking power to you.
Yeah.
But if you want to take a man's money and make it your own, power to you as well.
Yeah. I mean, you really have to do what's right for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that if you have children, especially, I've got 2 daughters, it is good to have the role model of I've always worked and they've seen that. But they've also seen that their dad is a very strong, in our case, a very strong figure in their life. And he does do things like he cooks, even though he's a very sort of alpha male. He cooks all our meals. And they see that.
Alpha male.
Yeah, well, he is. He's very, what's the word? Very,
No, I love it.
very male, yeah.
He knows how to take care of a lady.
Yeah, he's not I guess A-type personality, very male, yeah. And so they see that, but they see that I also work.
Yeah.
But that mum and dad obviously have an agreement, an arrangement as to, because I've done the bulk of the childcare. I mean, not the bulk, I've done all the childcare. But
let's say it.
yeah, all the childcare. And, got them out of my body. And that was pretty big. But also, we agreed that. That was an agreement.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the problem, is that, people assume that if people are living these lives, and then we sort of look in on Instagram and whatever, and we think it's true. And of course, it's a tiny slice of your life. That those couples they've spoken about this. They've arranged their life. They're happy with it. They've sort, and in many cases, and I have several friends where the woman is the brain keeper, is the
breadwinner.
The breadwinner, that's the word. And that works for them. And great, but they've set up their life. They've had obviously conversations about it. I also know people where it hasn't worked. But that's entirely personal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's up to, why can't we just all get on and do what is right for us? Because that, I think, unfortunately, that is the biggest thing, the biggest criticism, and people are going to come for me for saying this, for women, is that we just can't let it be. We can't, we've got rid of a lot of misogyny. And it's a lot better than when I was young.
Yeah.
You can't say hideous things in the workplace. And
what are
horrible
hideous things?
Oh my gosh. Just so many sexual innuendos. I mean, I'm not even sure I can repeat some of them. They would just repeat them. So, I mean, I can remember, there's so many, but I remember one day I was working in a sales floor, selling advertising for a newspaper group in the UK, big newspaper. And I worked, all the sales floors in those days were men and very sort of male men, shouted down the phone and it was very noisy. And I was the only woman on the sales team. And, I'm a sort of small, feminine, I'm not exactly I'm very feminine.
Very cute.
Oh, thank you.
Very
cute.
But,
I'm sort of the total opposite to them.
Yeah.
And I got the job because I speak several languages. But anyway, one day I'm on the phone. I get off the phone. My boss looks at me, and he's sitting at his desk, and he's wheeling his wheelie, the chair with in and out. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He said, "Do you know what I'm doing? I'm thinking about if I had a girl bent over this desk right now, and I just go in and out of her on my chair." And I just went, "Okay. Great. Thanks. I just got a call center, and I just completely ignored him.
Right.
But that is the kind of thing that you dealt with.
Yeah.
Or
that's the environment that you're going into every day.
Or making comments very sexually.
That's your boss.
Yeah, it was my boss. And it didn't even occur to me to say anything because I was just like, whatever. It wasn't specifically about me, but I have had things said specifically about me. Once I was wearing a pearl necklace. And this is very many, many years ago, and I was, in my early 20s. And probably a lot more naive. And this guy who had a little bit of a thing for me, but he told me, what's the expression? Is that your basically pearl necklace, i.e. it's sperm, And I was just
jerk off on your chest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what he meant.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what he was talking about at the time. And then I had to get somebody to translate. And I was like, oh, right, okay, whatever. And I just carried on.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't an environment. But that's pretty bad, right? Looking back many years later. And so many instances of that.
Yeah.
Of really sexual talk.
Just imagine if we went into a workplace and we were like, oh my God, my pussy is so wet.
Oh, yeah.
When your
Pretty
tie
much.
is tied like that.
Pretty much.
Or anything like
pretty
that.
much. That is pretty much what it was like.
My nipples get but they would love it.
Oh, of course they would love it. That's the irony. But I mean, you'd go to conferences or whatever, if you have conferences where you're sort of running a stand or whatever for your company. And the men would come by and every single one of them had to chat you up. And you're like, I am here for work. I'm not here, excuse me, for your amusement so that you can chat me up. And you just go, oh, whatever. And you just kind of get used to it.
Yeah.
But that was the environment. Very misogynistic, very highly sexualized.
Yeah.
Less women, more men, especially in the jobs I was in.
Yeah, and then they don't want more women, so they can keep saying their
Exactly.
shitty shit.
And then when women complained,
Yeah.
then they basically didn't talk to them. Now that's all changed, and that's really great. That is good. And the other thing is that, you know, women who are in marriages and that perhaps they don't work, they're not trapped anymore. They're not like, oh God, I have to stay married to this man. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not easy to get divorced. But it's not like my grandmother's generation. She had to marry my grandfather because she was pregnant. And what was she going to do? And she hated the guy.
That's horrible.
And, you know, that has changed, and that's very, very positive.
Yeah.
But I just think we live in a world now that we're not really allowing for many exceptions, are we? And we're being very, I guess the word is judgmental. So if a woman said, oh, you know, I'm going to have my kids and I don't want to work, all your friends would get on you, giving you a hard time about it. Where in actual fact, it's like, okay, if that's what you want to do, you do that.
Yeah.
It's not what I want to do, but that's none of my business.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, like, I have a really great group of friends, and oh my God, I love them so much. But yeah, if any of them were like, you know what, I'm going to marry this rich guy and I'm just going to be a mommy. And I'm like, that is fucking amazing for you. I honestly think it is the group of girls that you surround yourself with.
Well, that's incredible.
There's so many toxic, and I've had so many toxic female friendships that are just like, you say one thing and then you think the other, and then you talk behind their back, or like, they say something to your face and you're like, that wasn't nice at all.
No, exactly.
You know, so
well, they're ready to jump on you.
They're very ready to jump
they're ready
on you.
to sort of, like, we had some a post this week on TikTok, and you know, you said something funny, and all these like women sort of piled on saying,
I know, and I was just
you're not a
kidding.
feminist. It's like, it's a joke.
I was just
like,
kidding.
relax. I'm actually, you know, I work, I support myself. I think I'm a feminist, you know, in the same case for me. But they're just ready for a fight. They're ready to like go for you, that you're being subjugated to men. And I think that's a big problem, that women, like, I think I've told you this, like, when my husband travels, he puts all his clothes on the bed,
and then you pack them
and then
for
I pack them
us,
for
which
him.
is so cute to me.
And I've always done that,
Yeah,
because he's traveled so much.
Yeah.
But I remember one of my friends saying to me that I was behaving like a servant, and that I was being like
a 50s housewife.
So that's kind of thing she said. And I will iron his shirts and stuff, but he does all the cooking, and
Right,
he does like he'd do anything for me.
Yeah.
So I'm like who's got the better situation? You know, I mean, it was just ridiculous. I mean, just like, I'm not doing it because I'm a woman and he's a man. I'm doing it because I happen to be better at this, and I'm helping him because I love him and I want to do something for him.
Yeah.
And he likes cooking because he's way better at it than me, and he loves doing it because he feels it's really contributing to the family, which it is.
Yeah.
And it makes him feel good, and everyone's fed, and everyone's happy.
That's where we come back to like the toxic way of thinking of a 50-50 relationship, and how it literally just, it doesn't work, as in the fact that you have to take note of everything you've done for them for one day, and that what he's done for you, and everything you've done for him, and like what he's done for you. And like, if it doesn't match up, then like,
I know.
what are you going to break up? Are you going to have a fight?
Do you have like a little sort of thing, like ode to Melanie, you know, one dinner, ode to Max, one whatever, or whatever it is. I mean, even we were talking about this recently, well, not so recently, Michelle Obama was interviewed, and she said, and I will link this in the blog where the interview was, and she said that no marriage is 50-50, and that her marriage to Barack Obama was not 50-50. I mean, clearly he was the president of the bloody United States, so I mean, you know, he had a pretty big job. I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than that. But I mean, she was saying that, you know, marriage, it's not always 50. It might be at some points 60-40, 70-30, and it's not always one way or the other.
Yeah.
It just depends, right? But you're thinking, look, this is a woman who is extremely articulate, who's incredibly capable, who obviously realized her husband, even though she was a lawyer and, you know, had a lot of education, is very smart, her husband's going to be the president. She kind of can't have a job. She kind of has to go to the White House, you know. She kind of has to support him. And she's doing her duty for the United States by supporting him. If she was the president, he would have to do the other way around. And, you know, now obviously she's gone on and she's written her book and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I think she's a pretty good example.
Yeah. I mean,
for the team, she worked for the team of her family. And I think that she's a great example, and she is to be commended and talked about more, the fact that she did that.
Yeah. And I mean, that drives into like the everyday woman of just like, yeah, your husband might make more money sometimes and maybe he can pay an extra bill, but there's also the fact that he might lose his job.
Exactly.
And you have to be ready to either, if you want to make sure that this is the partner of your life, or, you know, maybe you're not just with him for his money, but, you know, power to you, whatever. But yeah, there might be a possibility that you're going to have to help him.
Absolutely.
Or help the family.
Either way.
Either more. Yeah.
Either way.
More.
I mean, like when at the beginning of my relationship with Max, I made way more money, and then it sort of swung in between all the way through. And, you know, to me, it's not important at all. I don't really understand why that's important. I guess, you know, I know couples where it has been problematic, and you know, that's a societal thing where the woman makes more money than the man, and you know, that's complicated to unpack that, you know, and that depends on the couple and how they can deal with that. But yeah, there are times in your life, and not just if you've had a child, like you said, you could be laid off. So you need to be with somebody who's going to, you know, kind of help you out, or, you know, not sort of have you on the street yet.
Not have you on the street.
Yeah, but it's true, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you know, if, let's say you lose your job tomorrow, it's going to help you pay the rent.
Of course.
And not be like, you know, you've had one cube of whatever.
No, yeah, like you're not roommates.
One glass of orange juice. You owe that back to me.
Exactly. It's
you
not
know?
like you're splitting the fridge. Like you're literally supposed to be happy. It's supposed to be happy. And it's supposed to be a nice partnership.
I know.
You should want to do things for that person without expecting things to come back to
exactly,
you.
Exactly, 100%. And you shouldn't be sort of there shouldn't be some kind of tally. And I do know couples where there is a tally.
Yeah,
where
that's
they're
crazy.
Literally tallying, and they've had children, and they have rotas, like, you know, today so-and-so feeds so-and-so, or tomorrow I do the shopping, so next week you have to do the shopping. I mean, who cares how many times you do the shopping? I don't know why that matters.
Well, as long as you're not getting like completely like taken advantage of.
Oh yes,
you know what I mean.
100%.
But that's another issue.
That's another whole discussion.
Issue.
But I think, you know, if you're in a relationship with somebody and you're happy and you're both contributing in whatever way you're contributing, which clearly is not going to be the same. That would be ridiculous. And you are different people, therefore you bring different things to the relationship. So yeah, it's so complicated. This
I know. I just
issue.
want to marry a rich man. Can I just have a sugar daddy already? I'm ready for it.
You're ready for it.
I'm ready for it.
But then a rich older man, that's got its problems, Susan.
Yeah, I don't know, because then you marry someone, they're 90, and then bye.
Wow.
Oh,
wow.
I'm like half kidding. But like, you know,
they are going to come for you today.
It's possible.
They've
I don't know.
come for you.
Any woman who says that they wouldn't, like, imagine just having that opportunity, being like, this man is going to die in a year. Give him the best year of his life as a young woman, and you get to make $1 billion.
Wow.
I'd take that.
Would you?
I'd take that. I would.
You know what? At least you're honest.
100%.
You know?
I don't know. Any woman who doesn't like you wouldn't, Mel, you wouldn't do that?
What? Well, I'm already married.
No,
It's
I
a
know,
bit
but if you
tricky.
weren't, like, imagine.
Just marry an old codger so that...
If someone was like, I don't know, if their assistant was like, we need a fun, sexy woman
for a year.
For a year, because this man has 1 year to live.
Yeah.
He has a lot of money. He doesn't have anyone else to give it to. You know, you're not taking this money away from his, I don't know, his other family, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You wouldn't take that deal? You wouldn't take that deal?
I think most people would take the deal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a smart fucking decision. You might learn something from this old guy.
I mean,
maybe you have to suck an old dick. Who cares?
It depends who it is. I mean, if that is attached to, you know, some individuals, then I don't know. But, you know, I guess you can, as one person
You're making
said,
$1 billion.
In one of our TikToks, they were like, you can close your eyes. And I thought, oh, yeah.
You can close your eyes.
They were talking about turning
the lights off.
And he said, just close your eyes. And I was like,
oh, yeah. It was just,
that was kind of eye-opening, that comment.
No, it was
anyway,
so funny.
But yeah. So where are we now in our conversation?
I'm just saying, like, women, like, come on, guys. Just be honest with ourselves. You don't need to do it all. You know, you don't need to be the feminist who believes that we can do it all. We literally cannot. We need help. We need help. Whether it might be a man's help, you shouldn't be ashamed of taking a little bit of help as long as they're also, helping like you're helping.
Yeah,
them.
I
Does that
think
make sense?
it's not
Did I just
like,
talk
you know,
gibberish?
what's that?
Did I just speak gibberish?
No, I think it's basically not sort of dying on the sword of your principles. It's like
That's
not
it.
taking it too far. It's like we are all trying to live here in a pretty tough world where it's getting increasingly competitive, and there are no breaks anymore for women. That was one thing years ago, is you got lots of breaks because she's only a woman.
She's only a woman.
Whereas, and
Give her a break.
I've had that said to me in years and years ago, more times than I've had hot dinners. There's a nice English
nice.
expression for you. And it's true. And they would say that to you and you'd be like, oh, thanks very much. That's great. Yeah, whatever. But, that isn't the world we live in. However, the price we pay for not living in that world is all the other stuff.
100%.
So, I mean, it's the price of progress, I guess. I mean, I guess that's the same with everything. It's so difficult to hang on a second. I don't want all of this stuff from the past and I want all this good stuff, but I don't want that stuff. I only want this piece of, feminism or equality. I don't want all the other stuff. Well, it doesn't work like that,
But
does
it's
it?
hard because I want I want men to be nice to me and not sexually assault me because they think I'm hot and they think that I deserve it if I look a certain way.
Yeah.
I
Which is amazing that men still behave like that, isn't it?
And that I don't believe that's ever going to stop.
No.
But as long but yeah, like I don't want that, but I do want the fact that maybe a guy can still buy me dinner and maybe
Open the door for you.
Yeah, what is that? Chivalry.
Yeah.
Chivalry.
A gentleman.
A gentleman, but also just like a nice person. Like I would hold the door open for anyone.
Yeah.
I would buy my friends dinner.
Yeah.
If, it was just like.
And that supports you in your life.
Yeah.
Supports what you're doing, is there, and you support them emotionally, physically, whatever it is, that you're both there for each other. And the idea is that you're both there, whatever happens. So, everyone needs some support.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that's most unspoken, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the voice that we just don't hear enough is that a lot of women actually do kind of want a man. They want a man. So they want to earn their own money.
We're talking about straight women, obviously. Lesbians.
We are talking.
You can join the conversation. We love you so much.
I'd love to know, actually.
How these lesbian
I'd love to know
work.
how that differs.
Is it 50-50?
Yeah,
I'd love to know too.
And, if one partner's female and one's mask,
More mask, yeah.
I'd love to know that. So please, somebody let me know, because I really would like to know. But
sorry to interrupt. No, go ahead.
No. Now I've lost
I know.
my
I'm sorry.
train of thought.
I'm sorry.
No, but I think the unspoken thing is that you want to work, you want to do well, because I think you also want it for your self-esteem and your morale. And of course you want to make your own money, so that basically if you want to go and buy a handbag, you don't have to have a massive conversation about it.
Yeah.
But most women also want a man who's supportive, who's gonna sort shit out if everything goes wrong.
Yeah.
They kind of want, and that's kind of a very male stereotype, somebody to kind of look after them, to be a rock. And I say look after, I don't necessarily mean financially, but they also kind of like it when that man takes them out for dinner,
100%.
when he turns up with a Louis Vuitton handbag. It all is quite nice. And we are kidding ourselves.
Let's just stop pretending we don't like that.
We are kidding ourselves if we don't say we like that.
And I think it comes from this this younger place of a woman. Like obviously you went to this really feminist school, and even I remember being extremely more feminist when I was in my early 20s and late teens. And obviously it's just changed now because I'm fucking tired.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but it's ideal, but idealism always kind of wanes because then you live and you're like, oh shit, yeah, actually this is quite hard.
This is really hard. And wait, I still possibly have to have a baby and I'm gonna have to work after that?
Yeah.
That's insane. There has to be an option, right?
Yes.
And you have to have the choice.
Yeah.
There can't just be.
But I mean, that was the point. is that
Exactly.
The point of the feminist movement was for women to have the choice. And now we've got to this point. And the point that everything is so expensive in most of the major cities in the world that both the man and the woman have to work. Otherwise, you can't afford to live in your house. You can't afford to drive your cars. And then, of course, children have to go to daycare. You can't afford that. I mean, the whole thing is mad.
Yeah, it's toxic.
It's completely mad. I mean, the cost of day childcare is
insane.
And it's just going up.
It's just going up.
Everything is just going up.
Yeah.
And we could talk about this for days,
Yeah,
especially with children
Yeah, we
involved.
could.
But as a person who doesn't even know if they want children, right?
Yeah. But I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think there are also a lot of women who are making the choice, which, absolutely, if you don't want to have children, that's entirely your choice. So that is a choice too. But I think there are also a lot of women that feel they can't have children because they can't afford it. And so they've kind of
100%.
eliminated the choice for themselves. And that, I think, is really desperately sad.
Yeah, I mean,
actually.
as we live in Canada, thankfully, abortion is very illegal.
Mhm.
I mean, legal.
Legal, yeah.
Abortion is very legal, and we are able to make these decisions for ourselves. And if we can't afford it, which is in Toronto and other large cities, how can you if you're literally not working so hard with like 3 jobs?
It's very, very difficult.
It's so difficult, and especially if you don't have a partner who's also working and who's also super just like supportive and like a real partner in it.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
So difficult in this economy.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, but I mean, also sort of not to go on about children, I'll make my last point about it, but even the way having children is so geared to somebody being at home. Kids, my kids, when they were little, they finished school at 3:15.
Yeah.
Well, not everyone obviously can afford for somebody or has to pick them up or a family member to go and pick them up. So the whole thing is geared around somebody
A mum
actually
being at home.
Yeah, well, mostly
Yeah.
a mum or somebody being at home. It's not geared around the workday at all. It's just not. So that's kind of messed up. But I mean, it leads into my facts. Do you want to hear my facts?
Absolutely. I'm so excited.
So my facts, and I will link the article. Just one moment.
Yeah.
I will. So this actually comes from publication called Pan Macmillan, but I will link it in the blog as always.
Okay, amazing.
But I think some important things to actually consider about gender inequality, because this is a subtitle of this, that still exists in the world. So we've gone through this huge sort of feminist movement, and there's been so much progress, and a lot of in the Western world anyway. Educated young women, and many young women going on to secondary and post-secondary, undergraduate, postgraduate studies, and so on. But you think about, so I'll just read you a few of these facts. You think the US in particular, and obviously we're in Canada, the US is very different situation, but it's still, the US is one of the only 8 countries in the world that does not provide any form of paid maternity leave. So, and sorry if that's not totally correct now, but I know that the US is very different to Canada and to the UK, where I'm from, in Western Europe, where it's much better for mothers and paid leave. But that still is an issue, that you're either gonna, in the US, earn nothing, or you're going to earn less, or whatever. So that's not really progress, is it?
No.
Then there's the issue of harassment, sexual harassment, either in, like you were talking about, not necessarily, we've done a lot of work to get that out of the workplace, and obviously there's lots of laws, but that doesn't, in social situations, in situations, particularly like if you're in a gym or something like that, or if you, I mean, even at my, in my advanced years, Susie, you'll sort of be in Shoppers Drug Mart, and some man will come up to you, and in my case, it's not some gorgeous young 25-year-old. It's generally some doddery old whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, some man will come up to you and say something like super creepy, and in like, what? I'm like looking for shower gel or whatever. What? And I can think of a situation.
Yeah, you're just in the fucking tampon aisle.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Recently, I was in Shoppers Drug Mart, actually. You're getting lots of advertising here, not in necessarily a positive context, and this has nothing to do with Shoppers Drug Mart. But
Don't sponsor us.
I was with one of my daughters, and this man, who actually was relatively young, came up to my daughter and said, "Is that your sister?" pointing to me. Yeah, exactly. How many times is that? And she went, and she was like, she has this as well. I mean, she's 19 now. She has men always coming up to her.
Yeah.
And
I mean, she's gorgeous.
And she's like, no, it's my mum. Because you kind of have to be polite. You're not quite sure.
Of course you have to be polite, because
And
you don't want to get stabbed.
Exactly. And you want to kind of de-escalate the aggression. And then he starts saying, and you're just like, and you just sort of have to laugh and kind of back away.
Yeah.
And you're like,
this is not right. I am in Shoppers Drug Mart. I shouldn't have to, I've said it again, have to have this.
Yeah.
Or like, you're in a gym or you're walking home at night. You've gone out. Or you're on the subway. You've got to make all those conscious decisions. And that, you think, well, we haven't made much progress there, have we? So harassment, that was the other thing.
That was the other thing. And
then I think we touched on this earlier, that still there's so much progress, but most of the unpaid work in the house is largely done by women. Now, and childcare. Now, that is often, we are our own worst enemy in that case. I know I am in my case, because I hate the way my husband does,
the
things
housework.
other than cooking.
Yeah.
It's just, forget it. I can't be bothered to explain it to you. I'm just going to do it myself. And the same with the kids. It's just, I'll just do it myself. It's easier. So I do, kind of works both ways.
Well, also it's like, and I'm just going to interrupt you for one moment, but like the children, they want their mums.
They do.
That's also the thing. It's like,
they do.
The dad can be there, but the children want the mums.
They
want
generally,
the mums to wipe their bums and do all the mum dirty stuff.
Generally they do, but it is often, and I've seen with lots of couples where the man takes a much more central role, so a more modern role, less sort of traditional role. And they do sort of also want dad.
Right.
In my case, my kids always, like, they'll call my husband and he'll be like, oh, you're calling me? That's so nice. You're not calling me about money or anything. Oh, no, I couldn't get hold of mum, so I'm just calling you. And he's like, oh, okay.
Nice to see you too.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, generally. And, it depends whether you have girls or boys, obviously. And another last sort of point, because this is quite a lot in this article, but
yeah,
is about financial advice. Because I think a lot of... financial institutions still, it's not very geared towards helping women.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we're still, I don't know why, that is a huge generalization, but I don't think it's been, the advertising or anything has been geared towards helping women. And I don't think women are still as good as they should be at not being financially independent, i.e. having a job, but making sure they have enough money for retirement, making sure they buy a house, making sure blah, 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 blah.
You're making good investments.
Yeah. You're protecting yourself and you're not spending it all on Chanel handbags.
That's so hard.
Well, that's pretty hard. Louis Vuitton. Oh, Kate Spade. Whatever. Whatever can be bought.
To my sugar daddies, I like Prada.
You like Prada?
In case you were wondering.
Yeah, who doesn't like a bit of Prada?
I'll be expecting one when I get home.
So those are my facts.
I love your facts. Well, it's hard. It's hard, Belle. Being a woman is hard. Being a person in society right now is hard. We're just, there's too much going on.
There's too much going on. There's too many expectations. And the last thing I'm going to say is we also put too many expectations upon ourselves.
Yes.
We make, this oppressive expectation that you're going to be able to do all these things. Like, ease off, give yourself a break.
Give yourself a break.
That's what I would say.
I love that. And I want to end it there.
Yeah.
Because I think that was a beautiful way to stop it. And if it's a reminder to anyone on this lovely Wednesday to just give yourself a break.
Absolutely.
Take a breath.
Definitely.
All right, that's our show, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, non-binaries, whoever you are, dogs, animals, furries. We will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
And don't forget to follow us, Sharing My Truth Pod, and rate and review this podcast. It really helps us out. We love you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening. Please rate and review this podcast and follow us on social at Sharing My Truth Pod, and leave us a voicemail on our website, sharingmytruth.com, to share your stories and experiences with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.